It's that long, blonde-haired lover from Plymouth. It is our very own BBC Radio Jersey's Chris Stone. The moment you've all been waiting for, everybody!
Hello, how you doing? I have to say that for the last 8 weeks or so, I've been like an Egyptian fisherman, completely in denial. The reason being, I've been absolutely terrified about doing this, and I've been dreading this moment for a long, long time. And I've been dealing with that by pretending it might never happen. And the most important thing, of course, to do here is to write your material. And I thought, well, if I don't write any material, maybe I won't have to do it. So I've been delaying it, putting it off, until Caroline, my girlfriend, nagged me and said, you've got to get this done. It's a bit like filling in your tax form. You filled in your tax form yet? You haven't? Have you not filled in? Some of you probably won't even need to. But it's one of these things. I've tried to delay doing mine. I found excuses. I thought, oh, I better do the washing up, or I better paint that wall, or I better take the cat for a walk, or something like that. And anyway, the time came and I thought, I'm going to have to do this. And so this Tuesday, I thought, right, I'm going to come here to the Arts Centre Cafe and I'm going to sit down. Discipline, Christopher, as my father would say. Sit down. I'm going to sit down here and I'm going to write this thing. So I thought, all right, I'll be on my way. So I headed into town. I thought, actually, on the way, before I go, I'm going to buy myself a nice new pencil to write my fantastic comedy act in with, right? So I went into WH Smith and thought, right, pencil. Found the aisles where the pencils were. Now, in my young day, a pencil used to be a bit of wood with a bit of lead going through the middle of it. And you could sharpen it with a pencil sharpener, or if you're a real man, you'd use a knife. Grr. Pencils these days, though, you go in and find a pencil, and they're all made of plastic, with buttons on the top and shiny little clips on them, self-sharpening this and twizzle me that. I couldn't find a proper pencil. I had to go to the lady and say, look, sell me a pencil. An old-fashioned wooden... Anyway, I got my pencil. I got to the front of the checkout and thought, good, now I've got my pencil. Discipline, Christopher, discipline. I'm going to go and write my brilliant comedy act. Got to the front of the long queue and thought... I'll tell you what would be really cool, would be to have a funky notebook to write my comedy act in. So I turned round, left the queue, walked back down the aisle to WH Smith. Have you seen how many different kinds of notebooks you can buy? In WH Smith, you can get ones with rules across, you can get checkered ones, you get blank ones, big ones, small. Anyway, 20 minutes later, I'm back at the front of the queue, thinking, right, discipline, Christopher, discipline, no more putting this off. I'm going to get to the Arts Centre, I'm going to write my act. And I did. I made it here, eventually, got down here to the Arts Centre. Okay. I found myself a table, which is quite unusual, sat down. Discipline now, discipline. Concentrate, Christopher, concentrate. Concentrate. I took my pencil, sharpened it with a knife. Grr. Because that's the kind of guy I am. And I sat down, I thought, right, okay, concentrate. Shh, concentrate. Shh. Channel all those comedy greats who inspire you. Spike Milligan, Eric Sykes, Tommy Cooper. Concentrating. Actually, if I'm sitting at the Arts Centre, I better have a cup of coffee, hadn't I? Otherwise, it's going to be really, really rude. So I got up from my table and I went, and have you seen the different types of coffee you can buy here? There's a list about this long. You've seen it on your tables. What coffee shall I have? Oh, I don't know. Took me ages just to choose a cup of coffee. So anyway, I got my cup of coffee and I sat down. Discipline, Christopher, discipline. This is about 2 hours after I set out originally. Sat down, nice new pencil, piece of paper, concentrate. And then the phone rang. There's my girlfriend saying, so, Christopher, how are you getting on writing your act? Yeah, thanks very much. Now, this all goes back about 5 weeks ago, maybe longer, actually, when Kate, my producer, who you've seen, actually asked me in an unguarded moment when I was busy trying to do my job. She said, Chris, how do you fancy being a stand-up comedian, learning to be a stand-up comedian? And I didn't actually hear her properly. I thought she said, glammed-up chameleon. And I said, yeah, whatever, go on then. Okay. And so the next thing I know, I've been booked to do a stand-up comedy routine in London in front of some of the biggest names in British comedy. Yeah, 2 weeks ago, right? 2 weeks ago right now, I was in the Radio Theatre in Broadcasting House, London, where they recorded some of the classic comedy shows of all time. The Goon Shows recorded there. Hancock recorded there. Just a minute. Anything funny that's been on the radio, it's all been there. Except for this. Thank you. She uses the hairband to keep her brain in. You're supposed to be on my side, right? And there were about 40 other radio presenters as well, all looking as scared as I was. And as we went into the theatre, through the portal, the bloke next to me said, oh my God, this is just like being a Christian going into the Colosseum, isn't it? Here, listening to the roar of the lions. And that's how it felt, because we weren't just there to give a stand-up routine, right? We were there to have feedback as well. Exactly. That's exactly the noise I made. Feedback, just like they do in the X Factor. Feedback, just like they do Strictly Come Dancing. Feedback, just like my headmaster used to do when I threw frogs at the teachers. They were going to tell me just how awful I was. Then they introduced us to our judges, and I use that word advisedly because that's how it felt. That was a real experience in itself, right? The godmother of British comedy, Jo Brand, she was there. Yep. John Culshaw, the impressionist, was there. He's been on the telly. I still, to this day, don't know what John Culshaw actually sounds like because he never spoke in his real voice all afternoon. Haven't got a clue. Hugh Dennis from Mock the Week, Outnumbered, Mock the Week. Yeah. My girlfriend's favourite comedian. She absolutely loved him. And also the lovely but frankly rather scary Emma Freud. Ooh. Now, how do you react when you meet a famous person? What do you do when you meet a famous person? Is it best to act all cool and say, yeah, hey Joe, another stand-up comedy routine, eh? Yeah. Or do you do what you really want to do and say, wow, I've seen you on the telly for years. You're one of my favourite comedians. I think you're absolutely brilliant. Please, will you write your name in biro across my forehead? What do you do? I don't know. But what was really funny, right, was watching 40 other radio presenters just like me going through this shall I be cool routine. And we were all trying to out-cool each other while, of course, inside we were absolutely, frankly, terrified. And just before we started, the compere asked Jo Brand if she had any last-minute words of wisdom for us, any pearls of advice that might make things a little bit easier for us. And she said, and we all leant forward to listen, she said, yes. Actually, I can't say what she said. It was only 3 words, and it was really, really rude. Anyway, we had to take it in turn to stand up, right, and have our pathetic attempt at being funny. And they used the bell and the buzzer from Just a Minute, right? The bell when you start, ting, and the buzzer when they want you to shut up. And one by one, the presenters were sacrificed to the gods of comedy. And then, of course, it was my turn, and I went up and I stood in the dazzling lights on the little red nose that they had on the floor, which was quite cool. And the next thing I knew, I was halfway through a joke, right? Just coming to the brilliant bit, the punchline, and went, Arr! Oh, come on. And I tried to finish and went, Arr! Again, off. Oh. So I didn't even get to my hilarious punchline. And then, of course, it came to feedback, and they were going to tell me what they thought of me. It wasn't as bad as I thought. Emma Freud, right, she said she liked my hair. She said my hair should have its own backlighting. It's like mixed there. She said that my hair was an act on its own, which I think was her way of saying, your jokes were rubbish, but at least you've got a physical deformity we can laugh at. Jo Brand, she said that I was a combination of the great Tommy Cooper and the mullet-head singer Michael Bolton. I think what she probably meant was that I told jokes like Michael Bolton and sang like Tommy Cooper. She did like my story about the lovely Dutch girl I met. Have you heard that one? I was out and about in town the other day, and I met this Dutch girl that I really fancied because she was actually really, really trendy. She had these giant inflatable shoes. And I thought, oh, that's rather nice. But by the time I got round to asking her out, she'd already popped her clogs. Yeah, they like that one too. Hugh Dennis, though, he deflated me a bit. He said he'd been surprised that I hadn't done any jokes about Jersey, about millionaires, tax dodgers, tax havens, money laundering, stuff like that. Why is it that people who've never actually been to Jersey always assume that that's what everybody is like over here? It really annoys me, that. And if someone says something like that to me, the first thing I say is, well, actually, yeah, I look them straight in the eye. No joking. I said, well, actually, it's true. You know, our streets are actually paved with gold in Jersey. And on Sundays, it's actually legal to shoot poor people. And you watch their face, and some of them don't realise that it's a joke. Anyway, I don't like doing jokes about money laundering and taxes and things like that, because there are 53 stand-up comedians down the road who do that far better than I do. I do like some Jersey jokes, though. Here's one Jersey joke that one of our listeners sent in. What do you call a Jersey cowboy? John Wayne, eh? And what stands in a field and goes, ooh? A Jersey cow with no lips. So anyway, I'd done it. I'd stood up in front of some of my comedy heroes, in front of my peers, and I was a bit funny. I felt like a Christian who'd beaten up the lion in the Colosseum. I'd even made Jo Brand laugh. And then someone said to me, what are you going to do for your routine in Jersey then? And I went, oh, no! I haven't even thought about that yet. Which brings us back to where we were, right, at the start, sitting here, right here, on Tuesday, chewing the end of my brand new pencil, blank sheet of my brand new notebook in front of me, coffee gone cold, everybody else pushed off, the waitress is going, come on, time to be going. And I looked down, and all that I'd written on my bit of paper was the 3 words of wisdom, the 3 words of advice that Joe Brand had given us at the moment, the most frightening moment of my career. Joe Brand's words of wisdom to help me out in this frightening thing were, don't be shit. Thanks, Joe. And I really... Judge for yourselves. I really hope it hasn't been that bad. And I've done it now. So please don't forget, I put myself through all this terrifying ordeal for Red Nose Day. There's a bucket over there you can put money in. Make a donation or I'll tell you more jokes. I've got to say a huge thank you to everybody that's given me advice on this. There's been lots and lots of people. One man in particular has been a huge source of inspiration to me and has helped me out an awful, awful lot. So if you've enjoyed this, I've been Chris Stone from BBC Radio Jersey. If you haven't, I've been Charlie Days. Thank you very much.
Thank you.